All right, recording. Okay, so thanks for coming tonight, everybody. I'm so excited to be on the call and honored, and I am kind of nervous. So I'm Nikki Johnson. I've been a coach for about a year, and I am just four-star qualifying, so I've put the pedal to the metal right from the beginning, and I have been blogging for about 4 years now. Almost 4 years. So I am definitely not any kind of an expert in blogging. I taught myself everything through trial and error, through Google, through other blogs. So hopefully what I've learned is something that you guys can take away tonight, and definitely get out a notebook and a pen and write down any questions that you have, because I definitely want to have a Q&A at the end so that you guys can get all of your questions answered, or as many as we can answer. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my story. So growing up, I had a really awesome childhood. My dad was a police officer, and my mom was a very hardworking internet person, I want to say, and she got in on the ground level at AOL. And in the 90s, if you know anything about AOL, that was a pretty big deal. So I never wanted for anything. I got to go traveling whenever I wanted, got a car for my 16th birthday. I got to go meet Hanson a couple of times. They were my favorite band. So I had a really cushy life growing up, and I played soccer. I was an athlete. I never really had to worry about my weight, or really I didn't have to worry about what I was eating because I was always active. So I didn't have very good nutrition knowledge, if you will, but because I just would always play sports. So I remember I never was really happy with my body. I think that's very common as a young woman growing up, especially with the media as it is, you know, how it can be. So I went to college. I went to a small liberal arts school in Florida, in Winter Park. It's called Rollins. And I was fortunate enough that my parents paid for my school, so I didn't have any student loan debt. And when I was in college, I packed on the pounds. I liked to drink and party, and I just kept my same eating habits, but I wasn't as active. And I started getting into this cycle of yo-yo dieting. I was like the South Beach diet queen. I could do that diet so awesome, but then as soon as I was done, I would just eat all the carbs because I didn't like the deprivation. Like mentally, if I was like, I can't have it, then I really wanted it more. So after college, I moved to New York City to work in the music business because that's what I really wanted to do. And I got a job at AOL Music, thanks to some connections. And it was really awesome, but I was making very little money, and that city is expensive. And even though I was allotted a certain amount of money, thanks to my very generous parents, I quickly blew through it and racked up about $12,000 in credit card debt, trying to keep up with my friends who had trust funds. And so after about 9 months in New York and, again, yo-yo dieting, I decided to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, because why not? Why not go from New York City to Charlotte? I started waiting tables, and then I took the first job I was offered, a marketing job, and I hated it. I went from going to concerts for my job and having a very flexible schedule to having to wear corporate outfits and be on all the time and having to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning, when at AOL you can kind of like roll in around 9:30. No one really cares. So I really, really was unhappy. And I started looking for another job. I decided just to move back to Northern Virginia, where I'm from, and get a job at AOL. You see a pattern here? So I actually really liked my job at AOL. It was really fun. I was doing content for the lifestyle channel. So home, fashion, food, parenting, horoscopes. I had a really cool job where I was like writing about celebrity gossip and relating it to horoscopes. It was really cool. And I was there for about 5 years when I met my now husband. And after dating long distance for 9 months, he moved up here. He sold his company in Charlotte and moved up here. And I got him a job at AOL doing contract work for me, actually. And about a month after living together, and like eating all the food possible because, you know, when you're in love, you just like eat everything. And I got pregnant, and it was a total like holy crap moment. But we were like, we're going to be okay. I had my job at AOL, and he eventually went and got a project management job. That was horrible. So I had my daughter, and I had postpartum depression pretty bad. And in the throes of postpartum depression, I made him quit his job because I said, we'll be okay. I have my AOL job. Don't worry about it. So I went back to work after maternity leave. I got 12 weeks paid, which was awesome. And he stayed home with the baby. And 2 weeks into my being back at work, I had my one-on-one with my boss, and I was like all excited. I was going to go in. I really wanted to like take over this site and just really pedal to the metal. And there was another woman in the office, and I was like, oh, you must have joined the team when I was gone. And it was somebody from HR, and that day I got laid off. So I had postpartum depression. Thankfully, that week I'd gotten on my medication because I might have thrown a Jerry Maguire. So I had postpartum depression, no job. My husband had no job, and he had a baby. So it was very stressful. Luckily, I had money saved up, and so did he. So we were able to make things work. And I decided I didn't want to go back to a corporate job. I wanted to do what I could to stay home with my daughter. So I took a class about cake decorating. I started making cakes and selling cakes. And then I decided I was going to be a freelance writer. So I started my blog so that I could send people to my blog. So meanwhile, while, you know, this is all going on, I got some freelance writing gigs. I got a contract with a company that ended up hiring my husband. Things were going great. We got married. My PPD was gone. So we decided that we wanted to have another baby. Meanwhile, I never fully lost all my baby weight because I just, you know, being postpartum, it's really hard. You don't really focus on yourself. So I got pregnant again. Things were going great. Had the baby. Had a great social media contracting gig. Had a great freelancing gig. My husband had a job. Then about 3 months after having my son, luckily I didn't have postpartum, but I gained a little bit more weight again. The company told all the contractors that they were going to have to let us go temporarily because they were trying to cut back on their budget. So then a month later, my husband lost his job because the company folded. So here we were again. We had just been rebuilding our savings, and now we're in the same situation again. No jobs. This time we have 2 kids, and I feel at my worst, my heaviest, and things kind of were just going downhill. So I started trying to lose weight. I was like working out and eating healthy, and nothing was working. And I put a cry for help on Facebook. I said, whoever said that you can lose weight easily while breastfeeding is a liar. I remember that exact post. And my old boss, who is also a nutritionist, offered to help me. And she was like, you need to start tracking your food, and you need to, you know, do like HIIT intervals. So I started changing my workouts and started tracking my food, and the weight was falling off. So I started blogging about it on my mommy blog that I had, and I started Facebooking about it, and people started asking me what I was doing. So we moved to Charlottesville, Virginia, where my mom lives, and because it's cheaper there, and we were going to pay for our whole rent up front with the money from the condo that I was going to sell, because no one's going to give a rental lease to 2 people with no jobs. But that contract fell through, and thankfully my parents, again, saving my butt, paid for my rent. So, and backstory of my credit card debt, I ended up getting that paid off before I met my husband. So he was thankful for that because he is very against debt. And I learned my lesson. But I do still owe my parents money for my rent. But I felt so pathetic. I'm 31 years old. Now I'm 32. But I was 31, and my parents were paying my rent. And I had 2 kids, and I was married. I mean, it was just like a really low point in my life. But I was happy. I was losing weight. And I knew I've always been optimistic, and I knew things that they were going to get better. So yes, my mom, I'm very thankful for you, Mom. And my mom is one of my diamonds. She's a great coach. So about 6 months or so, we moved to Charlottesville, and I was like working out in this little rinky-dink gym, and I saw a flyer, and it said, we're going to do T25. And I didn't know what that was, but I really missed my group workout classes. So I decided to go. It changed my life because I discovered Beachbody, and by accident. It wasn't a coach. It was just a group of people getting together, and I started losing weight and blogging about it. And I just was like, this is awesome. But I didn't really know about the whole business side of it. I kind of knew about it, but I thought it was a scam, and I thought network marketing wasn't for me. So my coach, Jimmy, he went to high school with me, and he started like commenting on my pictures. Like I went back and looked, and I was like, oh my gosh, he was so forming me. He started commenting on my pictures. So like his stuff was showing up in my newsfeed, and I saw that he had quit his job and he's a coach. And so I messaged him, and I was like, hey, how did you do that? And so we just started talking, and I started doing like more research about it. And I still was hesitant about Shakeology. And he said the magic words to me that I will never forget. He said, hey, Nikki, you are doing everything a Beachbody coach does. You're blogging, you're writing on Facebook, you're helping people. You're just not getting paid. And you know what? After 8 months of no income, well, small income from my freelancing gigs, I was like, okay, that was the magic words. I think I can do this. Let's sign up. So I signed up, and I didn't buy a challenge pack. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I paid the $40. And a month after, so I just hit the ground running. I just did it. And then my husband got a job the next month, and we moved back to Northern Virginia for his job. And here we are a year later, and we're looking at retiring him from his job, hopefully by March. So I'm really excited. And I'm going to tell you kind of about how to start a blog and what you can do. I don't want to get too in depth because I don't want it to be super confusing. But my blog has really helped me, and also really helped me before I was a coach, because I was already on my journey. If you guys are on your weight loss journey, blog about it. Like people will be watching you blog about it, Facebook about it, because even though I've only been a coach for a year, I was really doing everything a coach does 6 months prior to that. So kind of like 18 months as a coach, if you will. So that's kind of how I was able to quickly get to where I am. All right, let's get into it. Blogging 101. What should I name my blog? Everyone asks me that. And I really don't like this question because it's really hard to come up with a name. It's same with a like page. It's so hard to come up with a name. So my blog name is supernovamom.com. And the reason it is that is because I started as a mommy blogger. I live in Nova, Northern Virginia. So Supernova Moms, cutesy. And if I could go back in time, and if I knew that I was going to be a Beachbody coach, I just would have made it my name. It's simple. It's easy to find. And if you make your blog your name, then you can have a header, kind of like Melanie does. She has melaniemitro.blogspot.com. And then if you go to her blog, she has a header and it says committed to getting fit. So that's like the name of her blog, but you can change that. So the worst thing you can do is sit there and wait and wait and wait and wait because you can't think of a name. You need to be out there immediately getting content on the web that's searchable. So put it as your name, and then you can mess around with the header and stuff and change the name as you wish. But you're always going to have your name. Now, if you really are like super against your name or it's taken or something like that, then this is a Panabi.com. It's a little name generator site. There's a bunch out there. The only problem you might run into is most domains with .com are taken. So you can do like .me or there's other dots out there now. I think you can even do like a .fitness. But the problem with that is people are just so programmed to go to .com. Okay, so now you have your name. You decided. So now what do you do with it? So there's two options. You can create a free blog on a popular platform, which I'll go into, or you can register your domain with a host. And what's a host? You probably heard of GoDaddy.com. I do not recommend them as a host, but if you Google like top hosts, you'll find some good ones like Bluehost. I do Fat Cow. There's a bunch of different hosts. GoDaddy is just the most popular because they have really good commercials, but they're not the best company. And you can do your research on that. I'm not going to go into that, but so we're going to talk about free platforms. So Blogger, aka Blogspot, or WordPress, or there are a few others like Tumblr or Wix or a couple of other ones. But Blogger and WordPress are the two most common, and they're the most common that I get asked which one to pick. And there's a lot of articles out there on what to pick and what's easier and what's more customizable. So I grabbed this image from howtomemyblog.com, sorry. Kind of it's really small, sorry. I'll share these slides later. Anyways, The big difference with Blogger and WordPress is that so this is WordPress.org, not .com. .org is a paid site, and you have your own host. So I have WordPress.org, and basically it's fully customizable. You can do whatever you want to it, and it's basically like just giving you a content management system, aka a CMS, if you've ever heard that term used by internet people. And you can do whatever you want. Also, WordPress has tons and tons of plugins. And these are ways that you can customize your site. I have a plugin for Facebook. I have a plugin for my SEO, which I'll go into later. We have a plugin for Instagram, plugin for my site stats. So you can have thousands and thousands of plugins, and you can make your site what you want. Now, Blogger is a little bit easier to use. WordPress, I will say, does have a little bit of a learning curve. So if you really just want to focus on content only, then you can go with Blogger. But if you want to get into more like design and pages, and I mean, you can do pages on Blogger too, but if you want to get more customizable, then you should go into WordPress. And also, like I said, if you Google Blogger versus WordPress, you're going to see tons and tons of articles, and you can just do your research. Okay, so next step, make it pretty. Okay, so this isn't necessarily that important because this isn't going to be like how people find you, but my background being from AOL and having such an emphasis on design and how customers view websites and what their habits are, and my husband's also in e-commerce, so like I really, really am focused on a lot of design. So there are a few options that you can do depending on what kind of blog you have. So you can go on Etsy. If you have Blogger, you can go and get Blogger templates. I just typed in Blogger templates and all these came up, and they're all really pretty, and they're made by designers who could probably help you install it. If not, an easy Google search, you can install it. And the only disadvantage is with the Blogger templates, and then also WordPress has what's called themes. They're pretty much the same idea. They aren't unique. So there could be other blogs that have similar look to yours. Now, the best way to be unique is to hire a designer. But of course that costs money. So you have to take into account your budget, and also, it's a business expense, of course, but I have a really awesome designer, and she is not expensive. A lot of designers cost a lot of money, but so there's this funny diagram that it's like, you've probably seen it, it's, what is it, fast, cheap, and good, or something like that. So you can't have all three. So she's really good and she's cheap, but she's not very fast. So if you're looking for something really fast, then, you might have to spend a little bit more money. And she has designed my blog twice. She's designed my business cards. She's designed stationery for me. I just really love her. And people that are asking about Wix, Wix.com, it's another site that you can make a blog or you can make a website out of. So it's just another way to have a site up, if that helps. So anyway, so I have a designer and she's great, and I'm trying to get her to be a coach because she's really into fitness. So she's had a really awesome transformation, and she has 2 little boys. But that's her website. Okay, so if you take away anything from this call, it needs to be this: content is key. Your content is, her website is, if you go to JessicaStansburyDesigns.com, but she just changed her name. It's Cobblestone Marketing Company. I'll give you her link. Okay, so content is so important. This is how people are going to find you, and this is how people are going to connect to you and relate to you. Just like somebody that's going to follow you on Facebook, if they read your blog and they read your story, this is where they're going to connect with you. So I get this question a lot. I don't know what to blog about. Okay, so I don't want to downplay writer's block. It is very real. For me, it's not necessarily I don't know what to blog about. For me, it's more like finding the time or just being inspired. Sometimes I just have to be inspired to write a blog post, and I can't just write it to write it, because then it comes across that way in my writing. I'm a very I write the way I speak. That's just how I am, and that's how you should be too on your blog. Your blog should really be your voice, like how you would talk every day. And you shouldn't have to worry about grammar or anything like that. So make a list. Make lists of ideas that you have. This is a list that I have recently. My list is always growing, but I have like how to make Shakeology. And so I made a video, and then I also did a blog post. I also want to blog about my weekly grocery list and meal plans. That doesn't always happen, but it's a good idea. I blog about coaching. I also blog about other things too, not related to fitness or coaching. It tends to lean that way, of course, because that's my passion, but my blog has always been about my life and my family and things that I do as a mom. And also, I really try to be a DIYer. Like, I really want to be one bad, but I just don't have time, and it's hard. So ask yourself these questions. So what do people ask me a lot about? One question that I get asked a lot, which I need to do a blog post about, is what is a challenge group? People are always asking me what is a challenge group, and I could save myself so much time if I would just sit down and do a blog post about it, and then when they ask me, I can send it to them instead of just writing the same email over and over. Be like, oh, hey, I did a blog about it. Add a few pretty pictures, like examples of a challenge group. That's a great blog post. Now, what are you good at? So maybe you're really good at meal planning, and you can share your meal plans with people, add value. Maybe you're good at DIY, like doing furniture. One of my coaches, she's awesome at doing furniture. And I always say, do a blog post about your furniture, because you want to attract people that are like you that don't necessarily, know that much about health and fitness. So that's a way. Maybe you're good at sewing, or maybe you're good at cooking. You have some recipes that you want to share. And what do you like? Those things that you're good at are usually things you like. So blog about things you like. And if you're really stuck, there's tons of sites out there where you can get ideas, or you could go to other coaches' sites to get ideas. Do not copy at all. Don't ever copy, but get ideas. If somebody was blogging about, coaching, be like, oh yeah, I need to blog about coaching. Let me do that. Also, Google Trends. You can go to Google Trends to see what's trending. You can type in a subject. I think I typed in like recipes or something like that, and the chicken recipe. So those are keywords that people are searching in popularity. So maybe you want to blog about something that's going to get a high search, or if there's something in the news that you can relate to and make a blog post about it that's trending right now, then do that. And that's going to be a really good thing for your blog. Okay, so how do you build a following? So number one, consistency. This is true in all aspects of our business, right? It's also the hardest thing to do as a blogger because, let's be honest, life gets in the way, or, you're busy, and sometimes blogging gets put on the back burner. But I always say, if you can't be consistent in your blog, be consistent in other places, and make sure that your blog followers know where to find you. So I haven't been able to be as consistent as I want. I try to blog 2 to 3 times a week. But if I'm not, I'm consistent on my like page, or I'm consistent on my Facebook page and my Instagram, and making sure that I'm always staying connected to my followers. SEO, we'll get into that in a second. That's basically how search engines find you. And then cross promotion. But the number one thing I want you to remember, other than content is key, is remember that growth takes time. So you're not going to have a blog and immediately start seeing hits and people coming to your blog. It's going to take time to build following. And also, I really want to stress that if you are a new coach and you think that blogging is something that you want to do not wait until you run out of your warm market. You basically want to start growing this now, and then it's a great way to transition into your cold market. So I still haven't totally run out of my warm market as a coach, but I'm consistently growing my cold market, and it's all coming from my blog and growing my Facebook. So I'm having a nice transition, so I know that I'm not going to go cold. And also, back to the blogging, if you think you want to blog, it's not easy. And I know that as coaches, a lot of us get shiny ball syndrome or shiny object syndrome, where we think that maybe what we're doing isn't working, so we go somewhere else because it seems better. And I am guilty of this too. So like when Alyssa did her Instagram call a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. I'm going to build up my Instagram. Awesome. And then I was just like, Nikki, come on, reality check. Like, you already have a blog, you have your Facebook, like, come on. Like, I do have Instagram, but it's not to the point where I can be like, drop everything and get all my challengers from Instagram. It's way more focused on being a mom and kind of my bloggy life. So just remember that. Okay, what is SEO? SEO stands for search engine optimization. And this is going to get a little nerdy and boring maybe, but this is so, so important. And this is how people find you. This is basically how search engines find you. I had somebody ask a question the other day, how to know which search engines to put your blog on. You do not put your blog on search engines. They find you. They have little bots that crawl the web and they find you. So basically, there's a big misconception too that Blogger or Blogspot has better SEO because it's owned by Google, but that's not true. And this WordPress plugin that I have called Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T, is the best SEO plugin that you can have. There's nothing that compares to it. And it's really amazing, and it has totally, since I've added it to my blog, it's just transformed my blog. So you can see here I have an example of a recipe that I did. I called it Super Easy Rosemary Chicken. I mean, it's just basically chicken and like salt and pepper and rosemary, and I made a blog post about it. Okay, so just like write a little blog post about, you know, your family, that they liked it and how easy it was. It took 10 minutes, and, you know, then you put up a recipe. So you can see here it has, you pick your focus keyword. So what do you want your main keyword to be? So I put rosemary chicken because I thought most people might be searching for rosemary chicken to find my recipe. And then you'll see these bullet points that say yes. And you want to aim, this plugin basically will tell you yes or no. So if you see a red no, then you want to try to tweak your blog post or your metadata to make it yes, because green is good. That's going to be good SEO. So then the meta description, you can see here, it pulls in where the snippet preview is, and that's what people see when they're searching. They'll see the little preview. It's also what pulls in when you post it on Facebook. So you want to have your keyword in your blog title. You want to have it in the URL. You want to have it in the meta description, and you want to have it in your blog. So then at the top of this plugin, you can see that there's a page analysis. It gives you an analysis of your page, and you can see I have a red. That's bad because it's not long enough. It wants you to have at least 300 words, but I'm not going to just, you know, write a bunch of words or have a bunch of words. So I ignored that as a suggestion. And then in the yellow, yeah, it's confusing. This part's confusing, but this is just an example of this plugin that I use that helps with SEO. So you can see here, it tells you everything that you need to get good SEO, this is how you rank, and this is how people find you. So SEO takes time to learn, but there's this really awesome, if you Google like SEO for beginners, there's this really awesome article with like links to different lessons, and you can learn all about it. And you don't need to know all of it. You just need to know like the basics of SEO and how it works, so that you can really create your blog and your keywords so that they're searchable and people can find you. That's going to be the most important thing. So basically, I just, you know, try to use what this plugin is telling me that I need to fix, and I try to go with it as much as I can. Okay, cross promotion. All right, this is so key too. This blog post I did, it took the recipe, the 21-day fix Dijon vinaigrette, which you probably see on Pinterest. I made a blog post about it, and I put it on Pinterest. I put it on Facebook. I have this is another plugin that I'm sharing with you. It's called Shareaholic. It's on WordPress. It goes underneath your blog post so people can easily share your post. I also use the pin it button. If you know anything about Pinterest, if you hover over any image on my blog, there's a little Pinterest button that comes up and people can pin it. This Dijon vinaigrette image has been pinned, you can see there, over 3,500 times, which blew my mind. And I actually got a coach last month from this blog post, because she went on she bought the 21-day fix from Beachbody. She went on Pinterest for recipes. She saw my pin. She went to my blog. She liked me. She connected with me. She reached out to me, and we started talking. And now she's a coach. And she hit Success Club in her first month. So it's really cool. And this plugin also, so you can see it has Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, email, and then there's a little green button with the circles, and that's like a more. And I have an arrow pointing down, and that is just a quarter of all of the things you can share. So it's called Shareaholic. If you have a WordPress, you can get this for free. It's a free plugin. And so I pretty much post every time I blog, I take 5 minutes and I put it on Dig, I put it on Delicious, Pinterest, Facebook. Sometimes I tweet it. I'm not the best tweeter. I put it on Blog Lovin', and there I have like a whole list of things. Reddit, just anywhere I think that I can get, people interested in my blog post, I will share it. So that's definitely important. Then another way that I cross promote is I belong to a bloggers club, which I belonged to it before I was a Beachbody coach, but it's become really great. I've networked with a lot of other local bloggers, and we get together and we do happy hours, and we have a Facebook. You can see here every week, everyone shares their blog posts of the week, and we all share it and take turns. And plugins are not available on Blogger. So having other bloggers help me has been really awesome. And most other bloggers are so supportive. And I try to I don't share my posts that I think are like too product based, like my Shakeology, how to make Shakeology. I didn't ask them to share it because I felt like that was too much of a promotion. But other things that I do blog about, with my kids or something, I ask them to share it. And you never know what one thing will lead to another. I have my weight loss journey picture on the front page of my blog, so that if anyone comes to my blog from other places that don't know me as a Beachbody coach, they're going to see my before and after picture, and they're going to click on it and want to read my story. And I don't know about you, but anytime I go to someone's blog, I always go to their About Me page. I want to read about them. I want to see what their life is like. I'm a total nosy person, and I just want to read about all the bloggers. And I used to have a really big blogging obsession, and I would just sit on my Google Reader all day and read blogs. It was bad, but it gave me good ideas. All right. Other ways that I expand my network. So I'm constantly trying to grow my business and my network in other ways. I have a like page. So I've had this like page since before I was a Beachbody coach. And I don't really it's not a super awesome like page like Brigida or like Megan Ewaldson. Hers is amazing. I just try to make sure that I update it at least once a day with something that's going to add value to somebody. And I use it and I run ads. And I try to funnel people from that like page to my personal Facebook page, because that's my bread and butter. That's where people are really going to get to know me, is my personal like page my personal Facebook page, which is public. I also have on my blog, on the sidebar, I have you can get blog updates via email, so that way people are reminded. I also have I just put it up. I'm going to start doing newsletters, but in order to sign up for the newsletter, you sign up for a free meal plan. So that just went up. I also constantly am linking to follow me on Facebook, friend me on Facebook, find me on Facebook, all that kind of stuff in a lot of my posts, so that people know that they can come and see me on Facebook. I'm not one of those people that's going to deny their friend requests. And then also, very important that I learned from going to Katie's blog was the VCETA plugin. Now, this can go on any blog. It doesn't have to be WordPress. It's just basically code. You go to vceta.com. It's free. And if you go to my blog, supernovamom.com, it'll pop up and it says, let's talk. And then you can make it your own and fill it out, and people can contact you. And it's just easier than them trying to search around for a contact button. It just pops right up. And I can't tell you how many times that people reach out to me this way. And I know, VCITA.com. And I know, like, Katie says that she gets contacted almost every day through that plugin. So I'm not quite to that level yet, but hopefully one day. But I have gotten customers and a couple of coaches through that contact, which I never had before. So it's really been helpful. And if people put the X, it can go down, so it's not super annoying. So now I want to open up to questions for you guys, because I'm sure you have a lot, and I hopefully didn't confuse you too much. Okay. I'm going to stop the scroll so I can, okay. How do you make the time to blog? I feel like it takes so much time and so much time to read. So yeah, it does take a lot of time, and I really have to be organized and really sit down and have a chunk of my day and know what I'm going to blog about. I'm still not to the point where I can really say this day I'm blogging, this day, you know, I'm doing videos. Like I'm not, Melanie Mitchell has a really awesome video about how she like schedules her days out and when she makes time for it. And that is definitely something that is super important, and is what I really need to do. But it's just going to have to depend on your schedule, and you're going to have to make time for it. Blogging can just be recipes. Yeah, and just can be like anything on your mind. It doesn't have to be, don't overanalyze it. Just blog. Just sit down and write what's on your mind. And if you can't do a blog, you can do a vlog, like a video log, and put it on your blog. Sometimes I do that if I don't have time. Is there a site to explain how to install plugins? Most of the WordPress plugins you can do like from the backend from WordPress. You can go in and search the plugin that you want, and you can just literally click install, and it's pretty easy. Otherwise, if I can't figure out how to install anything, I Google it, and there's usually step-by-step instructions. WordPress is really good contact too, like reps. So if you need help, they really help. The SEO web link. Oh, it was a plugin called Yoast, Yoast. Do you double up on your posts, blog posts go on Facebook? Or yeah, so if I do a blog post, I usually always post it to Facebook. And then of course I have my other content throughout the day of my five things. Realistically, for a beginner, how long would it take to get a blog set up and functional if you're diligent? I mean, it would take you hardly any time to get it set up and functional. You can start blogging right now. It's going to take more time to like get it to look like the way you want it to look like. But if you're meaning like by getting a consistent following, it could take a few months. I mean, you just have to be consistent and be sharing, and people will just start following you. And if you're cross promoting and finding people other ways than just your friends, then you could pick up speed pretty quickly. I know Katie Hefner in the beginning, she was blogging every single day, and that really helped grow her business. Do you have any good tutorials? Square one. Well, things have changed so much since I started blogging 4 years ago, but literally, if you just Google like blogging for beginners or how to start a blog, there's so much content. You could find like really easy tutorials that you could share. You're welcome. Yeah, YouTube. YouTube has lots of videos. So if somebody has only had a few posts on Blogger and now would like to switch to WordPress, do you think switching would be bad if there isn't a big following? No, I don't think it would be bad. If you only have a few posts, then you can switch. But if you have like a bunch of posts and content and stuff, switching, I mean, I don't think it would be worth it. Who designed my page? Jessica Stansberry, Stansberry, I think. Let me write it out on my Jessica Stansberry. There. Yeah, Cobblestone Design Company is now her name. You're welcome. And also, if you have WordPress.com, the free WordPress, and you want to switch to WordPress.org, you can. My designer did that for me. She transferred my stuff. So I didn't have to do it. And then I also obviously I had just a free domain. It was like, I think it was novamomblog.wordpress.com. It wasn't Supernova Mom yet. And she forwarded my domain, which you can do on your host site. If you're like familiar with your hosting site, you can do stuff like that. I just never really dug that deep into the whole hosting. Is my blog a responsive site? What do you mean by that? I'm confused. I've been out of the internet industry for a while, so not all up on the web terms anymore. How many blog posts do you write before you launch? None. I just started blogging just one day. Oh, yes, Ed. Yeah, it does. I use supernovamom.com, but that's only because like I've had that name for so long that I even thought, I did think about changing and forwarding my domain because I just wasn't in love with Supernova Mom, but it just was too much trouble. And I already have a following. I have like everything that I have is supernovamom.com. And so it just was more hassle to change it. So I kept it, but I would do my name if I could go back in time. Thanks, Mom. Responsive equals mobile. It does. It does. WordPress does. It should. I haven't checked since I just redesigned, so I should probably double check that. But it should update to mobile friendly. It does. Thanks, Andrea. Tutorials for WordPress.org. I would just Google it, honestly. I don't have any off the top of my head. You can have more than one domain name take you to your site. Yep. And I know even Janelle has, what is hers, like turbosister.com or something. She has that site forwarded to her Beachbody site. So if you own a domain, you can have it go direct it to wherever you want. Is there a mobile app? Yeah, WordPress does have a mobile app. You can blog on your phone. It's not that great. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but maybe it's gotten better. Like everything wasn't, I couldn't adjust my pictures to be in the center. It bothered me. You're welcome. WordPress.org is you can fully customize it. WordPress.com is free and it'll have whatever your name of your site is, .wordpress.com. And there's not as much customization with that. Yeah, don't try to be perfect. Tips for choosing a domain host. I would just do your research. And I honestly did mine because my designer recommended it because she works with hosting sites. So she recommended it for me. But if you Google top hosting sites, there's a list and you can choose and there's different prices and stuff like that. Yes, and my mom, she didn't know anything about blogging and she started a blog and now she has a great blog called NotYourAverageGrandma.com. And she gets all of her coaches and her customers from her cold market. Thoughts on Weebly? I'm not familiar with Weebly. I think I built my cake. Actually, I think I did build my cake business site on Weebly. It was really easy, but I didn't use it as a blog. I just used it as because it was super easy to like create my website. But I don't have any experience other than that on Weebly. I use fatcow.com for my hosting site. Yeah, there's lots of options for blogging. I mean, the most important thing is that you're getting your content on the web, and that it's easy for you and that it works for you. So that's the biggest, most important thing. Because you can research till you're blue in the face, and you can go hem and haw and think, oh my gosh, I went Blogger, I should have gone WordPress, or vice versa. And really, it doesn't necessarily make a difference unless you're actually like putting your content out there. That's what matters. If you haven't had your blog for very long and haven't been diligent, you switch to WordPress. I mean, if you really think you want to be super customized and everything, then switch. But otherwise, if it's going to be too big of a hassle, then I would just stick with Blogger. So would you develop a blog separate from a site? Would you combine them as an option of cross-promoting? I think it's cool when businesses have blogs. I don't know what your other business is or if it's like related to what you're blogging about, or if there's a different voice. You really want, when you have a business website and a blog, you want the voice to kind of be the same. So it's up to you with that. I don't know what your business is. Oh yeah, Wendy. .fitness domains, yeah. How many hits a day do you get on your blog? It varies. I mean, I probably get like 300 or so a day, not like a ton, even though I've been blogging for a really long time. But it's growing a lot. So I'm not like Melanie Mitro getting like tons and thousands of hits a day. Not yet. Just remember to save your posts. My graphics for my blog, well, I use PicMonkey for a lot of stuff, but also my designer, like she created everything you see on my blog, like on this, like all of my icons for my Twitter and Facebook and stuff. She created all those. She created my header, my sidebars, all her. And I've created some like banners in PicMonkey for like click here to purchase. Another really good Beachbody blog is Becca Robinson. Her blog is so pretty if you want to look at a really pretty blog. How much time? Okay, so as far as designers, if you are good at design and you know how to do it, then you can go for it. But for me, I was like, oh, I can teach myself this, but it takes so much time to learn that, and time that would take away from my business, and time is money, and I would just rather pay somebody to make it how I want than to sit there and figure out coding and CSS and something's not moving right. Like I can just email her and be like, hey, this looks weird. Can you fix it? So for me, for like, I don't know if it was like old habits from working at AOL where I had designers at my fingertips and I would be like, hey, can you fix this? Can you do this? Can you do that? So for me to have that now is like just comforting. Instead of like me trying to spend an hour, like, why isn't this moving? Like, I can't align this to the right, help. So yeah, it's so pretty. All right, we'll take like a couple more questions and then I'll shut it down so you guys can have your evening to start your blog. So fun. Why Fat Cow? My designer recommended it. I honestly was like, okay, I trust you. But I haven't had any problems with them. They're great. How often do you post a blog post? In a perfect world, I would post one every other day. But it just depends. Like if you go back, you'll see like I blogged today, I blogged on Friday, and I think I blogged like on Monday before that. And then, so I go through spurts of blogging, you know, like consistently, and then days go by and I'm like pushing for Success Club or like getting so wrapped up in my coaches. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't blogged. So I'm not an emerald, I'm a ruby. So organization isn't always my strongest. I don't know how easy it is to switch. You can switch. My designer did it for me. I don't know what went into it and how much time it took. So Lisa says yes, you can easily switch. My designer didn't seem to have a problem with it. So all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. And